The Apple Vision Air is rumored for a 2027 release. Thanks to Wist, you can now relive your memories in a Minority Report style memory playback. And it looks like a sequel to Batman Arkham Shadow is on the way. All that and more coming up in this episode of the Virtual Lowdown. What's going on, virtual friends? Welcome to the Virtual Lowdown, the show where I bring you the latest and most exciting news going on in the VR world. My name's Pete, and I think it's about time we got on with the news. So for our first story, we've now got rumors from supply chain analyst Min-Chi Kuo about an upcoming Apple Vision Air headset rumored to come out in 2027. This headset is supposedly going to be both cheaper and lighter than the current Apple Vision Pro, but to no surprise, it will also have a significant number of cutbacks. So this keeps in line with Apple's regular naming system for their other products, the Apple Vision Air being both cheaper and lighter than the Pro version is reflected in all of their other products. So if you have an iPad Pro or a MacBook Pro, those are both heavier and more expensive than their Air counterparts. So straight off the bat, an Apple Vision Air does seem like a feasible next step to try and get their headset into more of the consumer market. So the new headset is supposed to be about 40% lighter than the current Apple Vision Pro, which is weighing in at 600 grams, meaning the new headset, the Apple Vision Air, is likely going to be sitting at around 400 grams. Now remember, the Apple Vision Pro does have an external battery pack, so this weight doesn't include the weight of the battery pack. This is just the amount of weight that is going to be resting on your head. Speaking of the battery pack, it is likely that the Apple Vision Air will still use this external battery pack, as if the weight is going to be lighter than the Apple Vision Pro, there's basically no way they're going to make it lighter and also attach the battery onto the headset. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So it's safe to assume that we're going to be keeping the external battery pack, but if there's going to be any changes to it, we don't know yet. So what kind of cuts are we likely to see from this headset in order to reduce both the weight and the cost? Well, while nothing is confirmed, it seems likely that they would remove the eyesight feature from the front glass panel of the Apple Vision Pro. So if you're not familiar with that, it's basically just like this kind of glass panel at the front of the headset that lets people outside of the headset see your eyes, but they're not really your eyes. They're kind of like your eyes being replicated on a glass display. I always thought it was kind of a weird feature, and I wasn't a big fan of it. It just looked kind of odd, and it also doesn't really serve much purpose for the person wearing the headset. It's more for people outside of the headset. I don't know about you, but if I'm spending $3,500 on a headset, I'm buying it for myself, not for what other people around me think. But it would be a pretty safe bet to say that they're going to remove this glass display from the front, because that will both save costs from not having to have the display at the front, and also glass is pretty heavy, so this will also cut the weight of the headset down, and I just don't really see it as being like a primary feature that people really need or want. Other than that, the only thing we can really speculate about is changes of materials, but the thing is, Apple is very specific about that. They like to keep their premium look and feel across all of their products as part of their branding, so I wouldn't expect them to kind of go like the Quest route and make like a plastic body. I would be very surprised if they decided to go with the plastic build for this, but it may be the case of like removing, things like the glass panel that's not necessary, and maybe changing materials here and there. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the headset is already using aluminium, which is a pretty lightweight metal, so I don't really know where they could go with that, but I imagine there will be some changes to the materials in some way or another. And apparently Apple is targeting about 1 million units of the Apple Vision Air to be shifted in 2027, which is a significant step up from the Apple Vision Pro, which I think has shifted about 400,000 units. Don't quote me on that, not 100% sure. But, that's to be expected at about half the price. Speaking of which, the Apple Vision Pro is $3,500 US, and if this headset is going to be exactly half price, that is going to list it at $1,750 US. Still definitely in the premium range for a VR headset, but again, a lot more accessible and affordable than $3,500, which, is just, that's never going to break out into the mass market. At $1,700, I still don't think it's going to break out into the mass market. Unfortunately, I don't think VR is that popular yet, but it definitely makes it a lot more accessible, and I think a lot more people, especially like Apple fans, will be more inclined to pick this up and test it out, even if they they weren't particularly interested in VR before. Now remember, all of this information here is just rumors, none of it is confirmed by Apple, but the analyst Min Chi Kuo, who has provided this information, he has provided a lot of information about Apple leaks in the past and is generally a pretty reliable source. So you take this with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, you know, it's quite likely that this is the direction they'll be going in. Next up, if you've seen the movie Minority Report, which I have not, Wist is offering a real-life version of their memory playback technology, which at the time was just like a sci-fi futuristic piece of tech that you could only dream of being real. Well, it's official. We're living in the future. Thanks to Wist, at least, it can seem that way. Using your iPhone 13 Pro or above, you can capture spatial video and relive those memories within your VR headset. Doesn't have to be an Apple Vision Pro, though it will work there, but it will also work on Meta Quest devices. So once you've captured that video and all the data is processed, you can then view it in your VR headset, and the idea is you want to kind of try and line up that memory kind of segment with the same place that it was taken in its real-world surroundings. Now, of course, you don't have to do that. You can view it any way you want, but if the goal is to kind of really try and relive that memory as vividly as possible, you want to place it in basically the same location. And then as you can see here, it's almost like you're looking into a window of your past memories, which if that isn't some cool sci-fi shit, then I don't know what is. And I just think it's really cool when you watch something in a movie and you see some kind of sci-fi piece of tech and you think, you know, that's never gonna happen, how unrealistic. And then later on in the same lifetime, that becomes a reality. I think that is just so awesome. And in this case, I think Wist has actually done a really good job of kind of recreating that. Like if you see the movie footage and then the footage from Wist, it's really similar. They've done a great job. So it's still in a private beta, but definitely keep an eye out for updates on this channel as we get more information. And just real quick, guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, do me a solid and take 2 seconds right now just to go down and click the like button. You know where it is. It's like down there somewhere. I don't need to show you. Just give it a little poke, and thank you. Highly appreciate it. And for our next story, Windows mixed reality headsets have just been given a new breath of life, with the SteamVR beta officially supporting the Oasis driver that will allow the Windows mixed reality headsets to now function in Steam. So I actually talked about this when it was being worked on in a previous virtual lowdown video, but if you missed it, basically Windows 11 removed the ability to use your Windows mixed reality headsets with Steam, and a lone Microsoft employee has decided to take it upon himself to make the Oasis driver that basically restores functionality to these headsets with SteamVR. So while this isn't an official driver by Steam, like I said, it was made by a Windows employee, Matthew Bucchianeri. Very sorry if I got your name wrong. With the latest version of the SteamVR beta, the driver now auto-installs, so there's no extra steps or workarounds that you need to do. You just straight up install the latest SteamVR beta, and voila, your Windows mixed reality headsets will function. So if you've got a Windows mixed reality headset lying around somewhere, it might be time to dust it off and go download the latest SteamVR beta. And our final story of the day, the voice actor for Commissioner Gordon in the popular Batman Arkham Shadow VR game has essentially confirmed that there's a sequel in the works. So during an interview with Culture Combine at the Fan Expo Chicago 2025, when asked about the role in the Batman Arkham Shadow game, the voice actor Mark Rolston said, "We're about to start another one of those," which, I mean, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? Now, while we have no other confirmed details or information about this sequel, it seems pretty likely that there is one coming, especially seeing the success of the first game, and with MetaConnect coming very soon, actually, in September 17th and 18th, there's a good chance that we might be hearing more news about it then. And that is going to be it for this episode of the Virtual Lowdown. If you're still here and watching, highly appreciate you. Thank you for making it this far in the video, and if you enjoy this kind of content and want to see more from me, consider subscribing to the channel. As you can see, I'm currently at about 1,400 subscribers and really doing my best to work my way up to 2,000 subscribers. Might not seem like a lot for you guys, you know, compared to these other big VR channels, but for someone like myself to know that I have 2,000 people watching my channel and enjoying my content, hopefully, it really means a lot to me, and I would highly appreciate it if you hit that little sub button if you want to see more from me. Other than that, have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.